What's happening, guys? Happy Sunday and welcome to the Dynasty WarZone, the People's Dynasty podcast. On today's show, we are wrapping up our ranking series. We went from quarterback to running back to wide receiver. Tonight, we're going to bring this home with the tight end position and who I would go home with, even if it was the first time that I met him. He is my co-host. He is none other than the man of the hour and the man with the power, Jerry Sinclair. Buddy, how are you?
I am great. I am more attractive than most of the tight ends we just talked about in our Patreon, where we did 13 through 24. I'm good. You just went to Dallas. We talked about that trip a little bit. Spoiler alert, Randy loves the barbecue there, so at least he is a well-cultured and refined human being.
Yeah, several shout-outs, because, the intro, the first 2 to 3 minutes, you kind of just, kibitz through some things. Big shout-out to Ray Garvin, at Ray GQ on Twitter. We all know Ray. Shout out to Ray on Twitter for the recommendation of the barbecue joint Slow Bone. Very good stuff. Had barbecue tonight. Went to a place. You'll see me drinking my cup when Jerry's, talking about tight ends tonight. And I'm drinking out of my new Terry Black's barbecue cup.
It's a half a gallon looking cup, man.
It's like a 32-ounce plastic souvenir style cup. You see them at ball games and what have you. But for one person, and this Terry Black's barbecue was $43. And this was cafe style. Or what, like I had to pay a tip or a server or what have you. It was like,
bro, if it's $43, it better come with the 101 too.
A, the company was paying for it. That's one. Two, it was worth it even if I had to have had come out of pocket for it. And speaking of come out of pocket, now we'll have ads. That's what we do. That's how we keep this for free on the Player Profiler YouTube channel. It's how we keep it for free on the Player Profiler podcast network. But we'll talk about a couple of shirts. First of all, Jerry is wearing an old school Dynasty WarZone hoodie. I don't even know that you can even get that hoodie anymore. So that's kind of a collector's item.
Yeah. But I don't know. I've had it since we got them. I have the other one too with the not to trademark it, but a former wrestling group.
I forgot about that one.
I have another one. I have that.
You have to wear that one. Wear that one next week.
I gave that to Mama. Mama's got that one.
She can loan it back to you.
Yeah, she wanted a little swag. So,
and I am rocking the Fast Draft shirt. If you've been following any of the other Player Profiler podcasts, well, like it's officially out there. The app is launched. It's Fast Draft. Like you can literally, if you're a best baller and maybe you're tapped out on Best Ball Mania, or you're just looking for something different, check out Fast Draft. This is just it's been Matt Kelly, the Podfather, Matt and Billy Muzio's passion project for the last 2 years. And I've had the good pleasure of sitting in on some of like the test calls and, helping with the app and helping get it up and going when I could throughout work. And I can tell you this is a passion project for these guys. So yes, the shirt is clean. Yes, I know I wore it last week. I'm probably going to wear it until the regular season. I'm going to wash it in between because I think Fast Draft's really cool. I'm really proud of Player Profiler because to get licensed and to do all the stuff that I know, because I've heard the stories of what Matt and Billy went through. And Jerry, we're going to get you on there. You like to draft.
I do. I really do.
I mean, you can literally do a poop break at work and maybe knock out two. Depends on how long you can get away with hiding in the commode.
We finally did the lottery for my home redraft league. I think it's the only redraft league I'm in actually. So I've been doing mock drafts for that. So I do need to fast draft because it's just not the same. When there's no stakes, it doesn't tingle your privates like it should.
Doesn't tickle your taint the way that it used to. I saw someone in the chat, and I'll give them a shout out here in a minute. Just ask if it's PPR or half point PPR. Check the settings because not every game has the same setting from game to game. They've got rookie games, all the games. But since we're already promoting, let's get that out of the way. Let's take a quick moment and hear from Underdog.
This episode is made possible by Underdog Fantasy, and Underdog Fantasy is the leader in best ball. When you go to join an Underdog Fantasy best ball draft, it fills very quickly, especially now. It's Best Ball Mania season, baby. Best Ball Mania 5. I can't believe they're at Best Ball Mania 5 already. $15 million in prizes. They're giving out $15 million with $1.5 million to first. Playing in best ball leagues makes you better. It helps train you on player value and strategy. And Underdog offers a lot more than just best ball contests. They offer pick'ems. My new favorite, the golf pick'ems, baseball pick'ems going on throughout the off season. Hit the pick'ems, back to best ball, hit the pick'ems. So use promo code Underworld. Promo code Underworld gets you a 50% deposit bonus up to $250. So they've increased the maximum deposit bonus. It was $100. Now it's up to $125. When you get the Underdog app, use promo code Underworld and go draft your ass off.
I'm telling you, he's got a copyright, trademark Circle C. He has that patent on draft your ass off. Well, Jerry, we're going to move past drafting our asses off, and we're going to talk about good people, bad tweets. And I've actually got a 2-piece for you. I've got a 2-piece. I thought about saving them, but that's stingy, because the one thing about good people, bad tweets, Jerry, is that a former participant can redeem themselves. Okay? I mean, when someone says something bad, we're going to bring it up. When someone says something good, we got to give them credit. And this one, the good one, we'll start with the good one. Dave Kluge. At Dave Kluge. I think he's with Football Guys. I don't know. But Dave Kluge. And he says drafting a bad player at great value is still a bad pick.
I mean,
I've never agreed with something more in my entire life.
I mean, that's true. Everybody likes to say that everybody has a price, but if the price is a wasted roster spot, is it actually worth it? I mean, okay, Kluge, I'll see you. People say that sometimes we're not as nice as we could be with the good people, bad tweets, but we're just keeping it honest and we're keeping it real. When Dave says something dumb, he'll make it on the podcast. When Dave says something good, he'll make it on the podcast. So a shout out to Dave. Dave is exactly right. For those of you getting ready to do fast draft, Underdog, maybe it's your work league, maybe it's your old fraternity league. I don't know. Drafting a good value on a bad player does not fly for me. But Jerry, where would we be without the true meaning of this segment? Good people, bad tweets. And just like last week, we have a repeat customer, Kurt Benkert. What a name. Kurt Benkert. Like, who was the guy who shot Robert F. Kennedy, historian? Sirhan. Yeah, Kurt Benkert. I know. Speaking of Kennedy's getting shot, you were just in Dallas, didn't even go see that, but it's fine. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, I was in Dallas and had a choice between eating barbecue and going to a poker room or going to see a shrub, a grassy knoll. No thanks. but anyway, Kurt Benkert said, Chargers are taking my spot as the worst team in the NFL this season. Then it be the Patriots, then Saints. Wouldn't be shocked to see Herbert get traded and a full reset in LA in the next 2 years. And this was done on August 17th. So that was Saturday, August 17th, 8:08 p.m. I was like, what in the good Lord? What in the good Lord are we doing here, Jerry?
Yeah, that's dumb. Here's the thing. I would love to tell you that Jim Harbaugh is going to fail miserably, because as a human being that has loathed Jim Harbaugh for a long time, he has caused me immense pain the past several years, being a Michigan State Spartan, where they clobbered us 49-0 last year. He's not going to. Jim Harbaugh has been successful every single place he has ever been. Like the University of San Francisco, Stanford, Michigan, the 49ers, and now he's going to be successful with the Chargers. Is it the best skill position roster top to bottom? Hell no. Running backs are suspect. Wide receivers, pretty suspect. Justin Herbert's still good. And Jim Harbaugh knows how to be successful. He's going to have a good offensive line. Justin Herbert's going to have plenty of time to throw it. He's going to have plenty of time to make the decisions that he needs to do. And the roster will build. They're only going to get better in 2 years. To think that they're going to totally reset, that's wild. That's a wild take.
Drunk and disorderly. That's my opinion on this take. First of all, they can't finish last in the NFL if they don't finish last in their own division. So let me get this straight, Ben Kirk. Let me get this straight. You're taking Antonio Pierce and the mustache, Gardner Minshew, over Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh. You are dumb. That is a dumb take. You're not even going to finish last in their own division.
I don't even think the Raiders are going to be that bad, but I agree with you there.
Well, I think the Raiders are going to be a dumpster fire, brother. I mean, like hot, stinky, smelly garbage. I think you're going to see a lot get uncovered with that Dallas Cowboys team. But yeah, man, get the fuck out of here, the Chargers. I'm not a Jim Harbaugh guy. If I get a chance to take the piss out of a Jim Harbaugh or a John Harbaugh or anyone named Harbaugh, I'm going to do it. But you're not going to sit here and tell me that the Chargers are going to be the worst team in the NFL. Again,
like the Patriots don't exist.
Three things, guys. Four. I'll go technically four. Head coach, quarterback, offensive line, defensive line. Jim Harbaugh, that offensive line, is it Christian Slater? Is it Rashawn? Yeah. Slater. They just drafted the big guy from Notre Dame.
Alt.
Joe Alt. You got the offensive line. I got the head coach. I would say, and there's a podcast that I listen to that this guy's wanting to put $5,000 on the Chargers to make the playoffs because it pays ridiculous. Again, I'd love to take the piss out of Jim Harbaugh, but I'm not. This is just so bad.
The bones are there for that team. Like they're not gonna win for sure.
This is a fantasy football take.
Yeah, like exactly. They have a bunch of irrelevant pieces for fantasy football. I'll give you that. And I mean, I think people are hating on Justin Herbert a little bit too much in drafts, but either way,
we'll leave it at this. I gotta make sure I got Dana White ready. Always got to have Dana White on standby. I got a new Dana White. I got to get it uploaded into the soundboard. Actually, we're going to go a double shot tonight. So let's go double shot of Dana White. But first, we got to make sure we have everything dialed in.
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
Are people bitching about that?
Some people.
Of course they are. Oh, okay. All right, got it. Yeah. Too bad.
There you go. Little Dana White. That was a take that made me say, not like Master P. If you know, you know. But let's jump into talking about some tight ends, Jerry. And when we started doing this, you mentioned the Patreon podcast. We talked about tight ends 24 down to 13. When I thought about this assignment and I was going over this today, I was like, brother, I was like, I got to rank the tight ends. I got to tell you, we talked about this. You had from 16 down to like 10, and I had 15 down to 10. I think there's a pocket there that if you don't get one of the young guns that we're going to talk about tonight, that you are going to really like when you fall into the back half of tight ends. Ton of value. And for anyone that has bitched about the depth of the tight end position over the last couple of years, they're crazy. I think it's as good as it's been in recent memory. And I'm really excited. What are your thoughts on tight ends in general? And then if you feel the urge, please take 24 down to 19.
12 to 7. We already did 24 to 13 for the Patreons. You can find that at patreon.com/WarZone. As far as tight ends, I don't know if there's a human being that does a Dynasty podcast that has complained about tight ends more than me over the course of our 6 years. It's just a position that I genuinely hate. I tend to not draft super early, and I tend to avoid them. But doing my rankings, I agree. I think the top 16 is actually at least my 16. I'm comfortable with these 16 guys. I'm comfortable having, and that's a lot better than it has been in recent years. In recent years, it's been like a tier of 3 guys that are difference makers, and then usually a couple other guys that are usable, and then just used Q-tips. But I think we have finally gotten to a point where it's not too bad. So I'm going to start it with 12. It's a guy who had a good season. He's young. Yeah, Terry Black's half-gallon soda cup for Randy. Are you drinking wine out of it? Remember when you used to drink wine out of your like Tupperware cups? Those are the good old days.
I don't drink much wine anymore. It's lemonade.
Yeah,
Sugar-
that was
sugar-free
the
lemonade.
early days of the podcast. Randy
yeah.
drinking wine out of like a Harley Davidson plastic cup.
Yeah, I
number 12.
didn't mean to sidetrack you. Yeah,
It's fine.
12 down to 7.
That's the ADD. Jake Ferguson, number 12. He's with the Cowboys. They have CeeDee Lamb. They don't have a ton of other pass catchers. And he was pretty good as a second-year player. He was good at Wisconsin. So I am excited for that opportunity. I think he should easily repeat it. And if he does, then that puts him in this range. Number 11 is Travis Kelce. Haters don't hate me. Like, he's 35 years old. Like, I think he's going to be better than what Randy does. Randy thinks he's going to be an end of the season, take the Corvette out on the nice warm weather days in the playoffs when you want to, but he's not going to be the Rolls Royce that you can drive around whenever. Number 10, David Njoku. David Njoku is only 28 years old. He's going into his 8th season in the league. That's insane. He finally started to come around the last couple of years. Deshaun Watson seems to like him quite a bit. Number 9, Evan Ingram. As far as fantasy is concerned, Evan Ingram is probably like tight end 3 or 4. So to get him at 9 in a dynasty seems pretty awesome. 8, George Kittle. He's old also. Like, George Kittle easily could drop 1,000 yards, maybe 1,100 if he has a really good year. But he's 30, and he's going to be 31. And I don't know how much longer he's going to be able to hold up because it's the NFL and it's tough. 7, Randy, you're not going to like this one, buddy, because you already alluded to who you have very early. It's Mark Andrews. Gets hurt a little bit. And I just think the guys that I have ahead of him are younger. They're in better situations. And I am ranking towards the future, less so what they have done. You are going to hate my second player. Anyway, Randy, thoughts, and then yours.
Well, Fergie didn't make my top 12. Nothing against Jake Ferguson. I had
Which
him
is
in my
weird because I feel like you liked him more than me.
Well, if you go back to like one of our earlier shows somewhere between April and May, I actually have him as a buy. I think he's a great buy. I don't know. Nothing horrible. I mean, I had him like, I think at 14, 13. He barely missed the list. It was him and Pat Freiermuth that both, and Freiermuth's another guy that I've been huge on. I've been a big proponent of Pat Freiermuth, but I've also got to keep it real, got to keep it 100. I'm going to wait and take the, I'm going to wait and get to you on Mark Andrews toward the end. I'm not going to say you were being a little bit of a hypocrite, but last week you were sticking up for old wide receivers. This week, kicking old tight ends to the curb. Seems like your philosophy has changed in the last 7 days.
Okay, well, the talent pool for wide receivers and the talent pool for tight ends is different. And also, tight ends can be 30 and still do okay for a few years.
So I'm just giving you a hard time. I thought I was going to get grief for you or from you for having Kelce at 9. So we're not far off. We're not far off. I'll actually bring up one of mine. I'm going to go 12, and this will surprise some people because I checked Fantasy Pros and I checked Player Profiler. Neither one of these sites have him in the top 24, much less the top 12. And I can't really figure out why. It's Hunter Henry. Now, I'm not saying you got to pay tight end 12 prices for Hunter Henry, but do you not like fantasy points? Who is he competing with targets for in New England? Is it such luminaries as Kendrick Bourne or, Jalen Polk?
This is the first time anyone except for his mama has called him a luminary.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Do you not think that the rookie and or Jacoby Brissett is not going to pepper this guy with targets? what I love about him is that I have him as the 12th tight end I would take. That's how I've done these rankings the entire time. If I'm on the clock and I absolutely have to take a tight end, Hunter Henry's a smash. And he's dirt cheap, and you don't actually have to pay these prices for him. I had Njoku at 11. You said 10. All right, so we're not horribly amiss there. So Njoku at 11, Kittle at 10, Kelsey at 9. This one right here is probably going to get your dander up, and that's TJ Hawkinson.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how you can have TJ Hawkinson, who is, last time I checked, I'm going to look for it right here. Yep, he's 27, who had his entire knee blown apart over a guy like Mark Andrews, but anywho. And then I have Evan Ingram at 7. I lowered Evan Ingram. Like, if we were doing a redraft, and I know a lot of us will be in the next 2-3 weekends, we're coming up on peak redraft season. But Evan Ingram is a guy that, if you get him and you let your league mates take the sexier names at tight end, I mean, the guy just broke the record for what, targets and receptions by a tight end. And they didn't add anybody I know people are going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs on Brian Thomas, but different story for a different day. So 12 through 7 for me: Henry, Njoku, Kittle, Kelsey, Hawkinson, Ingram.
I've only got Hawk a hair higher. Like, he's going to be the first person I talk about at 6. Evan Ingram, I'm fine with. Kelsey, I'm fine. I mean, that whole list. The Hunter Henry one is interesting because we did, I have him in my 13 to 24. And when I said his name, you were like, oh, you're going to think it's crazy because I have him at 12, but I'm really not. Like, Hunter Henry is like the single most disrespected tight end in the entire league. Like, I have him much further down, but also don't think it's an issue at all to have him at 12. Like, he gets like 600 yards, and I know that doesn't sound awesome, but when you look at the production of every single one of the guys that we're naming outside of the top 5, that's pretty much in line for this range.
My whole thing is, it's just, now if you wanted to have Jake Ferguson ahead of Hunter Henry, that's fine. He's a starter in a very good offense. I can get it. If you want to even put Pat Freiermuth, Dallas Goedert, you want to put those guys ahead of him, I'm totally on board with that. That's okay, because they're younger, they're in good offense. Totally understand. But to have Cole Kmet, who's lost in the sauce, and you actually like Dalton Schultz quite a bit. I won't say where you have him ranked.
Yeah.
But to have guys like Cole Kmet and Dalton Schultz ranked ahead of him when they really have no realistic shot of outscoring him in PPR points for the foreseeable future, because one guy's dealing with Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs, and Nico Collins, and the other guy's dealing with Keenan Allen, Roma Dunze, and DJ Moore. So how can we have those guys when and those aren't prolific offenses? Could they be prolific? Yes. Have they been prolific? Not yet. Like, everybody's going crazy for CJ Stroud. He threw 23 touchdowns. We act like 50 touchdowns this year is just the 5,050. What is that? Peyton Manning's 2014 or whatever it was. We just have him penciled in for that. So how can I take guys like Luke Musgrave? I like Luke Musgrave, big Luke Musgrave fan. But to have all of these guys and you're just banking on upside, you know what I'll bank on? Fantasy points. Because you know what fantasy points do? They help you win championships. And you know what championships do? They put money in your pocket, Jerry. So that's why I have Hunter Henry ahead of the young guns. And like I said, I will give you the 3 of Goddard, Ferguson, and Freiermuth if you want to put those guys ahead of him. There's not many of these other guys that I can really go to bat for over Henry.
My argument for Schultz and Kmet is that they have 3 more years on their contract. They're linked to young quarterbacks who should have high potential. Now,
what is Drake May? That's not a Jeopardy answer. Like, he's the New England quarterback rookie drafted. Yeah. Who is Drake May? Who is Drake May? What is he?
Listen, I hear you, but he's also not shown me the same things that Caleb Williams has shown and CJ Stroud has shown. And he's tied. And I understand that situation is very much different. The reason Hunter Henry is this high on your list and sort of mine is because there is nobody else out there. I don't remember who I called used Q-tips earlier, but the receiving core for the Patriots is a bunch of used Q-tips. So it's just him. So I'm fine with that. Anyway, Jerry's number 6. We're going to go 6-1.
Well, hold on. What we're going to do is we're going to take our second break. We'll get it out of the way. It's a little early in the show. But that's okay. We'll get it out of the way.
Listen, Randy, in our defense, this is tight ends. So
this is tight ends. And I got my show sheet out of order. We're going to do news and nonsense at the end. So we'll get a quick commercial break. We got to hear about the draft kit because we're really proud of our contributions to the draft kit. We'll get through 6 down to 1, and then we'll talk some news and nonsense at the end. But first, the draft kit.
Hey, it's the Podfather of great news. The draft kit is live. It is world famous. Why? Because it is the best resource for winning fantasy football championships that exists. There are rankings and cheat sheets for every format you can imagine. We have projections both at the team level and the player level. And wherever you are, you can click on a player, open them up, and see in-depth written analysis about what to expect in fantasy football from that player this year. And then you can click on the team, and you can get even more in-depth analysis, all the drivers of fantasy production, both in a positive and negative direction for that team, including a signature trend. And the graphics are incredible. So these team insights, they give you the team-level projections, the vacated targets, the vacated ARs. And we added a bunch of features. I mean, individual cheat sheets for Theo and Billy and Dario. So you could take your favorite analyst and download their personal draft cheat sheet. And then in the commissioners section, Memphis Young lays out everything you need to know to manage a league, the best minds in the industry contributing analysis. It's certainly not the most inexpensive draft kit on the market, but it is the best. Playerprofiler.com/draft kit, playerprofiler.com/draft kit. Go get it.
Yes, you should. Like I said earlier in the show, the 3 biggest redraft weekends of the summer are upon us, Jerry. And then it's time for football, my guy. So draft kit, check that out. All right, sir. 6 down to 1.
Number 6, TJ Hawkinson. I just think he's better than Mark Andrews. I understand the argument. He's coming off an injury. He's got an unknown situation at quarterback. So I understand your trepidation for the man. I just think he is very talented, and I think he is long for this league. And honestly, I think he might be the best talent at the tight end position in the entire league. Maybe him or George Kittle. Number 5, Mr. Brock Bowers. I just think that situation is booty cheeks for a tight end to be a difference maker. I know I said I didn't think they were going to be that bad earlier, but I don't think it's going to be a great situation for Brock Bowers, but he's young. He's very talented. There's no way I was going to put him much lower than this. And I just think the guys that are ahead of him are in much better situations. They are also young. They also have production under their belt already. Number 4, Dalton Kincaid. Who's Josh Allen going to throw the ball to, Randy? And I don't know if people know this thing about Josh Allen. Pretty good at throwing the ball. And when he's going to be the guy that's going to have to catch it, him or James Cook, and they're not going to throw it to James Cook 130 times a season. Dalton Kincaid's going to feast. He's going into his 3rd year, I think. I mean, first round draft cap, 2nd year, first round draft capital, like absolute demon. Number 3, Trey McBride. Come on. I mean, he's the darling. He's got Kyler Murray, got umpteen amount of targets. I mean, I don't want to say came out of where was he drafted? He was drafted pretty early too, wasn't he? You remember that off the top of your head?
Where was who drafted? I'm sorry.
Trey McBride.
Oh, Trey McBride. 2nd round?
2nd round? Yeah, that's what I thought.
He was like a top 45-ish pick.
That's what I mean. And he showed up. He played pretty freaking great. And he's going to be there for the long term. They drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. So defenses are going to look towards Marvin Harrison Jr., but also there's not a whole lot of other targets out there, so he should be able to feast. Number 2, you can guess where I'm going, Randy. You haven't heard his name yet. Kyle Pitts.
I kind of knew where you were going, Jer.
I I understand that's probably a little spicy for some people. But honestly, I've seen 1,000-yard season out of him. Now I haven't seen touchdowns. I got to see touchdowns. But also I've been looking at the Desmond Ridder throwing him the ball. I mean, bleh. We look at what Kirk Cousins did at his time in Washington, and I'm blanking on homeboy's name right now. Jordan Reed was there for a little bit. There was a couple other guys. And then he shows up. TJ Hawkinson takes that step from a good tight end to an unbelievably productive tight end. Kirk Cousins did it a ton in college too. He always focused on his tight ends. He's great at it. He's good at the play action, and the tight end is always the guy that seeps out down the field in the play action. I think Kyle Pitts is going to do well. I think he is finally going to reach what his cost was for so long. Number one, Sam Laporta.
Yeah, kind of goes. I debated putting Pitts at, not Pitts. I debated putting Laporta at 1. It just feels so chalk right now. I'll go ahead and hit you with mine, and then we'll just discuss. So I have Pitts at 6. This is what cracks me up about Pitts. Okay, this is what cracks me up. Oh, he's gonna run wide receiver routes this year. That's what he did last year. Look at the percentage of wide receiver routes and the times that he's lined up as a wide receiver. You know why he hasn't dominated? Everybody's going to go because it's the quarterback. No, dummy.
It is the quarterback, though. He had
he
terrible quarterbacks.
He can't beat corners. He cannot beat corners. They're not lining up safeties and linebackers on him. They're putting a corner on him. They're treating him like a wide receiver, and he's not beating that coverage. Now, does he have a shot with Kirk Cousins? Yes. Does he have a shot with the new offensive coordinator bringing that Shanahan-McVay system? Yes, he does. But there has to be some common sense involved in Kyle Pitts. Again, the whole narrative of yes, the quarterback play could have been better. Of course it could have. Play calling could have been better. Of course it could have. But you know what? So could him beating a corner, because that's who he's going to see. He's going to see nickel corners. He's going to see slot corners. He's going to see guys move over to defend him. And he has yet to prove that he can beat them consistently, because he's already been running the wide receiver routes, and he's already been getting the wide receiver spots in the formation. Don't piss on my shoes and tell me a training on Kyle Pitts. I believe there's reason to be excited, but slow your roll. I have Brock Bowers at 5, and this may have been my favorite part of our conversation on the Patreon podcast. I won't go into it, but and this really ties back to you where you had Michael Mayer. But I do, speaking of guys that can line up in wide receiver formations and line up in the slot and do all the things a wide receiver does, that could be Brock Bowers. What if they decide to use him like a Cooper Kupp or like a Puka Nacua? Now you're having a guy who's an absolute PPR monster, but he has to prove that he can beat the corners. We'll see. I think 5 is fair. I have Trey McBride at 4, and nothing against him. If you want to take someone over him or take him over someone, totally fine with that. I can totally understand. I think whereas some people have him at 3 or 2, me having him at 4 is not like, me insulting the man. It's just that I think part of my reasoning for having him at 4 is I think Michael Wilson also takes a step. It's not just the addition of Marvin Harrison Jr., right? It's not. I also think Michael Wilson can be really good. I do like that this is a shootout division. This time last year, and we're going to do our hot takes episode in the not too distant future, but I was big on Trey McBride in my one time, and I got to get all mad about this, about my return voyage on the Mind of Mansion podcast with the Podfather. On that show last year, I called out Trey McBride. So no shade, no hate. And then Dalton Kincaid. Take my take on Hunter Henry and now multiply it by a bajillion. Because I like Drake May. Most comparable to Josh Allen. But you know who Josh Allen's comparable to? Josh Allen. Nothing but the QB1. And this is another one of those situations where they could have 2 tight ends with the Dawson Knox, but who are we worried about? Keon Coleman's been fun. Khalil Shakur has some vague interest. But you're going to tell me a quarterback as good as Josh Allen is going to be hyper targeting you? Man, I'm in. And then my two, we still have to fight about Mark Andrews because I'm ready. I have the ammunition right here. I have Mark Andrews too. All he's done since he's been named the starter is finish as a top 5 tight end, except for last year when he got hurt. Although his 13, this is regular PPR, not any premium, but his 13.5 points last year was the 5th best average among tight ends at the position. So you're getting a locked in top 5 guy. Every single year, we're fading him because he's 29. When we've seen tight ends like Travis Kelce, like Gronk, Jason Witten, Antonio Gates, Tony Gonzalez. Good tight ends can play a long time. Oh, and fun fact, courtesy of my friend Ryan McDowell. Lamar Jackson has never produced a fantasy wide receiver 1. You know why? He's too busy making Mark Andrews a tight end 1. Year after year after year after year. Barring last year when he had that weird ankle shin injury, the guy's just a top 5 option. You just lock him in. So he does seem to have this weird thing about getting injured. He got into a car accident the other day. Thankfully, he's okay. I would have had to have adjusted the rankings. And then number 1, Sam Laporta. Felt very chalk-ish, but he's got the things, man. Great offense, great offensive coordinator, quarterback locked in, 1 alpha wide receiver. And the difference between, say, a Sam Laporta and a Trey McBride is I don't see a potential Michael Wilson on that team. So I like the Lions. I've been more bullish on the Lions in this entire ranking series than you, Jerry. You got the Detroit hat on. I don't have to sell you on the Lions. So that is my top 12. I'll read them off, then you read off your top 12, and then we can go to battle. For me, Hunter Henry, David Njoku, George Kittle, Travis Kelce, TJ Hawkinson, Evan Ingram, Kyle Pitts, Barack Bowers, Trey McBride, Dalton Kincaid, Mark Andrews, Sam Laporta. Your 12, sir.
Yep. Jake Ferguson at 12, Travis Kelce at 11, David Njoku at 10, Evan Ingram at 9, George Kittle at 8, Randy's second-ranked tight end. My 7th, Mark Andrews, 6, TJ Hawkinson, 5, Brock Bowers, 4, Dalton Kincaid, 3, Trey McBride, 2, Mr. Kyle Pitts, and number 1, Samuel Laporta Esquire.
Well, good list. Yeah, you're gonna have to. I'm willing to go to task because we have Pitts and Andrews inverted. Tell me why you would take Kyle Pitts over Mark Andrews, unless you're going productive struggle.
I'm not. Get the fuck out of here. Okay, listen. We've seen Mark Andrews have 1 season of elite production. Now, it was unbelievable. 100 catches, 1,300 yards. Other than that, you're looking at like things that Kyle Pitts also did. Like that's the only time he broke 1,000 yards. Kyle Pitts broke 1,000 yards, and he's 22 years old. Mark Andrews is going to be 29. Like
he being Mark Andrews had 154 targets, 113
back in
targets.
2021. That might as well be 100 years ago in Dynasty.
Oh, you mean the same year Kyle Pitts had his 1,000-yard season? Got it. Noted, because that was 100 years ago.
I don't think that's true, is it?
That was his rookie year, 3 years ago.
So when he was 20, yeah.
Yeah,
as a 20-year-old, he had 1,000 yards.
But you can't have it both. You can't have it both ways. It can't be 100 years ago, and then, but for one guy, but not be for the other.
So let's use your wide receiver argument from last year, or from last week. Excuse me. So I can get Kyle Pitts for 8 years, or I can get Mark Andrews for 4, and I'm getting similar-ish production. What's the issue here? So either and here's the thing: maybe Kirk Cousins falls off the face of the earth. He tore his Achilles. He's old. Blah 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 blah. They already drafted his replacement, and you like his replacement. He's in a good, stable situation. I mean, I listen, like I've got Mark Andrews at tight end 7. And every single person ahead of him is way younger, except for Hawk, but I'm just biased for Hawk. I like Hawk.
Sir, with the exception of his rookie year, Kyle Pitts has never averaged anything even close to Mark Andrews in his best year.
Absolutely.
Straight up PPR. Straight up PPR. Mark Andrews. I'm sorry, Kyle Pitts, best season, not premium, just 10.4 points. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the career of Mark Andrews. 13.5, 30% increase over Kyle Pitts' best season. 12.7, 20% increase over Kyle Pitts' best season. 2021, 17 points. That's a 70% increase. You see where I'm going with this? Don't tell me he's roughly the same guy. He's never done roughly jack shit compared to Mark Andrews. And last year he played all 17 games and had 600 yards passing.
Ready for it?
Yep.
You ready?
Yep.
Lamar Jackson is a 2-time MVP. Kyle Pitts has played with fucking Desmond Ridder and Marcus Mariota. Now, last year, Desmond Ridder, 12 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Marcus Mariota, the season before, 15 touchdowns. So in the last 2 seasons, his quarterbacks have thrown 27 touchdowns over the course of 32 games, more than 32. Where the hell did I learn to do math? 30, whatever the hell again, 35 games. Are you kidding me? How many touchdowns did Kirk Cousins throw last year in the 8 games that he played? Let's find out real quick. Because you know what it is? A hell of a lot better than everything that we have seen from those yahoos. He threw 18 in 8 games. On pace for 36. He was on pace for more touchdowns in that season by himself than those two combined in 2 seasons. It's a different offense, buddy. And we're talking Arthur Smith is gone. Don't you roll your eyes at me, young Randall.
I mean,
Arthur Smith is gone. That poopy quarterback situation is gone. He's 22 years old. He's had a 1,000-yard season as a rookie. I know it has been ugly. Like, I'm not stupid. I'm not. I have been on the. I don't even have Kyle Pitts because I wasn't taking him when you dopes were drafting him in rookie drafts because I don't draft tight ends that early. But if you think this man is not set up to be successful going forward, I think you are higher than giraffe nuts.
Totally fine. I'm pulling up who was Trey McBride breaking out with last year because it wasn't Kyler Murray the entire season.
No, it also wasn't Arthur Smith as his coach.
What chapter of the Encyclopedia Excuses is this for Kyle Pitts? It's never his fault.
It's near the end. I'm not denying that for sure. But this is my first time reading. I am just now. My excuses for Kyle Pitts book is still creased. It still smells fresh and new because I have yet to open it. I am just now opening it for the first time, and I'm telling you.
You know what the best part is that if Kyle Pitts hits his absolute peak, he could be Mark Andrews. That's what we're hoping for.
Well, no shit. 1,300 yards is every tight end's peak. I mean, I get it.
So we have the guy who's already doing it with the quarterback who's under contract.
What is the outlier in this situation? 500, 850, 700, 1360. 840, 544. There's an outlier there. Like, yes, that's also Mark Andrews' peak. And beyond that, it's like 850 yards. So, like, I get it. Mark Andrews is good. And he's got Lamar Jackson, and Lamar Jackson loves him. And he's going to continue to do it. So I'm fine. And also, we're arguing about top 6 tight ends here. But
we will end the tight end discussion on this. I'll just leave you on this. Last year, fantasy points per game, because we can at least agree that fantasy points matter.
100%.
Just checking. Okay. And fantasy points
Andrews
per game
scored more. I'm not a fucking moron. I know he did.
Was 5th. 2022, he was 3rd in points per game.
And listen, if last year's fantasy points count for this year's fantasy points, I'll know exactly who to draft.
Yeah,
lucky me.
100%. Yeah, you just always have this really weird habit of just drafting the guys who put up fantasy points, as opposed to the guys who might put up fantasy points.
Oh, Randy, before we end this one, let's do something because tight ends. I mean, yes, we're swatting our dicks back and forth for sure on this one, but I want to do something different with this because tight ends is a weird. It's a weird group, right? Like we could easily have a ton of different names, and everybody that's in the chat and everybody that's going to watch this, we would have just a variety of different players. So I do want you to do a little spoiler for the Patreon. I want you to pick at least one person from 13 to 24 that you think you should mention.
That I think that I should mention. Okay.
Yeah. Whether it's you like the upside of them or you like where you can get them, something.
It's Jake Ferguson. I battled with Jake Ferguson, and I really, as I sit here and I craft out my defense of other guys, it's like it's CeeDee Lamb and who? Jalen Tolbert, the corpse of Brandon Cooks. I mean, who else is there? Flournoy. I like Flournoy. He's an interesting dart throw.
Yeah, he's a dart throw though.
But he's another guy that could just command targets on targets on targets. I don't want to say that I should have had. If I had to do it over again, maybe I flip-flop Hunter Henry and Jake Ferguson at 13 and 12, but he's by far the guy that, and then I'll tell you the one that's most likely to go up is Ben Sinnott. I think
Fair.
Ben Sinnott's that's Theo's guy, our boy Theo Grimminger, the boss around here, trying to get him on the podcast. But yeah, those guys. I mean, what about you? I mean, this was your question. So who are you talking highly of?
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, I already mentioned sort of Dalton Schultz and Cole Kmet. I just think they have stable situations. So I think I'll give you my 24th guy. The guy that I threw in at the end because I think he's worth mentioning is Noah Gray. Travis Kelce's back up in Kansas City. Who knows how long Travis Kelce's going to be around for? And I know we've been saying that on this podcast since we started doing this podcast. But at some point, my man is aging. And at some point, he's going to like living the pop star life. And football is going to become less serious. And it's going to take one injury. And he's going to go, you know what? I am super rich. And I can do whatever I want in my life. I do not want to get hit by superhumans week after week after week, year after year. And he's going to slip away. And I think Noah Gray has shown that he's at least productive when Travis Kelce has not been in. So he's sort of my stab. It's not that I think any tight end would replace Travis Kelce. That's nonsense. But that role is at least defined in their offense and with Patrick Mahomes. It's something that Patrick Mahomes looks for, and it's something that Andy Reid has schemed for. So it does have a role, even if the person is not even in the same stratosphere of talent as Travis Kelce.
Not the craziest take you've ever had. But speaking of crazy takes, we're going to wrap up the tight end rankings. We're going to do a little news and nonsense here at the last portion. I meant to put this up earlier in the show, but we're here. Real quick, what are you doing with J.J. McCarthy right now?
Holding. Like if I have him, I'm holding for sure. Here's the thing. You are going to get exactly what you want as a JJ McCarthy owner, because Sam Darnold was going to start either way. Sam Darnold was going to be the starter. And at some point he was going to struggle and JJ was going to get thrown in probably before he was ready. And then he was going to take some big hits. He was going to get confused. Whatever it was going to be, lose some confidence. This way, it doesn't matter. Because Sam Darnold is not going to be the guy. Like, does anybody think that Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings are going to win the North with Caleb Williams and Keenan Allen and Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jordan Love? And no, absolutely not. They're more likely to finish dead last in this division. So let them struggle. Let him heal. Let him learn this game. Let him see these defenses. He's a smart dude. Like, you don't go to the University of Michigan and you're a dumb dude. Like, you're not. He wants to succeed. While I don't like JJ McCarthy because he's a Wolverine, he's still going to be successful. And you don't have to worry about it. You can just set him down, and he just got cheaper for you to acquire if you believe in him. Not right now, because yes, he just got injured and you have to wait a very long time, but it doesn't matter. He's still fresh in people's minds. In week 8, in week 11, in week whatever, when somebody starts getting the tinglies in their no-no area because they're starting to feel like they're a contender for the playoffs, and they don't need JJ McCarthy sitting on their bench or their IR, and they need a player so that they can win, that's when you go. His price has now changed, and he's absolutely going to be acquirable. I don't even know if that's a word. Absolutely. Hold JJ McCarthy if you've got him. Ride it out. Because either way, he's going to have Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, and Justin Jefferson whenever he gets back. And you know what? This is Dynasty. I can hold. But if I can try and exploit this injury so that I can acquire him at a reduced price, at a 112-ish, once you start getting, early seconds, late first sort of talent, whether it's a pick or whether it's a player, somewhere in there, and that's totally feasible if you wait until bubble time for the playoffs, or you're trying to get somebody who's in third place right now and you're going to try and sell them to get them over the top. Hell yeah. Easy. I'm not bailing at all.
That's the worst thing that you could do. And it's funny, you see this all the time. Like, worst case scenario happens. The biggest one for me, as we've been doing this for a long time, was when Kansas City and Tyreek Hill got accused of child abuse. Like, instantly it was sell for pennies on the dollar, just sell. And we didn't give the situation time to play out. And that peace of mind, that quote unquote peace of mind that people bought themselves, just wrecked, absolutely crushed Dynasty teams. JJ McCarthy, I love your take. I am going to be buying about mid-season, especially if he's on it. Like, and if you're not contending right now, like if you're a rebuild special and you're,
easiest acquisition you could go for.
It's so easy. And I have a team. I've won this league like 3 of the last 5 years, and I've got Sam Darnold on this team. So I went instantly to the team that had JJ McCarthy, and I sent them both a trade for JJ McCarthy. And then I also offered to send them Sam Darnold. Kind of a which way do you go? Because I'm not locked into either one of them. I would love to have JJ McCarthy because on the same team, I also have Bo Nix and a couple other good young quarterbacks. So I'm good. I'm good quarterback wise. The team that I'm trying to trade with, they went all in on this year. So they kind of need a QB. And I am the head cook and bottle washer of the Sam Darnold fan club.
Yes, you are.
I am. I shine the trombones. I make sure the snare drums are good and tight. Oh yeah. But again, why do I love Sam Darnold so much? He taught me to be a better fantasy gamer and a better fantasy analyst. So I'm going to stay loyal to Sam, but now's a great time. We haven't had a lot of training camp injuries at quarterback, which is fantastic. But just think back to Aaron Rodgers last year. You know what? How's his Achilles going to hold up? We talked about Kirk Cousins. How's his going to hold up? And now, luckily for the Falcons, they have Michael Penix Jr., but what do you have behind your Kirk Cousins? He's a guy that I think people hate so much. You could probably get him for a third in Superflex. I don't know that they would take that right now. They're going to hold your feet to the fire. But if I had to give up a 25, especially if I'm contending now, and only if I'm contending, I'm going to give up a contender second, and I'm going to try to get back a third, right? Sam Darnold in the third for my second. And hopefully it's a bad team. And then if your team is a contender and say that second
picks.
Exactly right. That's the Jedi mind trick of all of this is that, oh yeah, I'm going to give you a second. You're only giving me a third back with Sam friggin' Darnold. All right. And then you wind up competing and that pick becomes like the 210, and then the team that you traded with isn't very good, and it winds up being the 304. And all of a sudden,
all that crap about Sam Darnold. What if he actually is successful?
He's going to be fine. I don't know that
I think he's going to be fine, but like, what if they make the playoffs?
I'm telling you,
what the hell are the Vikings going to do next year?
You know, another good tweets, and I'd love to give attribution. I just don't remember who it was. They were talking about how, like, you know, Nick Mullen and Josh Dobbs and someone else, that in that offense, they averaged 12.7 points a game. And that's not great, but that's like QB2 numbers, and we play a lot of Superflex, so that's very useful. And when I saw the tweet, I commented on it. I said, and they did that without having Justin Jefferson the entire time, because he missed a large chunk of that part of the season too. So, you know, here's a funny Sam Darnold story for you. Sam Darnold said he learned how to study and prepare in the NFL from Brock Purdy. That was the first time in his career that he had someone in a professional offense with a professional coach who was actually able to, and everybody raved about him in San Francisco last year. He was never going to beat out Purdy, but they brought him in, and I think it worked out. So if he were to have that Baker Mayfield, like maybe I'm speaking it into existence. Fuck, I don't know. But if he were to have a really good year, like what Baker Mayfield did last year, or what Geno Smith had 2 years ago, right? Like that rebound season, and looks really good doing it, especially given the schedule that the Vikings are playing, because like weeks 2 through 5 are brutal. If he has a pretty good run in this offense, is it crazy to think that like the Raiders would have him as their starter next year?
I don't think it's crazy.
I mean, what if
I don't
Dak?
think it's going to happen. I'm just saying, like, I like Sam Darnold more than
what if Dak moves
on him for sure. I mean, you like him more than me. Not going to lie about that.
Yeah, but I'm also a realist. Sam's a short term situation. And as far as JJ McCarthy goes, if you like him, this was always the best course. Now, I do wish that he was not injured and he'd be able to take those second team reps, but he's going to be in the building. You know, he's going to be learning, and he'll do fine. It didn't hurt Patrick Mahomes to sit the entire year. Now, again, he got those practice reps. He got to see the first team offense, but he didn't get all the game experience. He played a little bit at the end. You know, McCarthy will still be there. He'll be holding a clipboard. He'll be wearing a hat backwards like Jerry and I. He'll be doing good. But if you got JJ McCarthy, now is a great time to sell. Hold. And if you have Sam Darnold, now is a great time to go make some offers. But like I said, I treat Sam Darnold as which way do you want to go? Can you go find a piece on the McCarthy team roster that you would like to get for Sam Darnold? Then go get it. If you already have Sam Darnold and you can use that as a quarterback as a reason to go get JJ McCarthy, because you have a quarterback, you have a starter. So I have Sam Darnold. I'm going to go get the other guy. Even if you got to give up now in a super flex, especially if you were contending, would you give up your 25 first for JJ McCarthy?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I would agree. All right. I got some nonsense. I got a couple other news pieces. Bad week to be named Jalen and play the running back position as it relates to hamstrings. So Jalen Warren with the Steelers, and I'm drawing a blank on the Jalen that's in Miami.
Right.
Jalen Wright. Warren and Wright, like the law firm of Warren and Wright. Both those guys pulled a hammy. It takes some of the nervousness that I had about Devon Achane away.
100%.
Every touch that
he sucked in the preseason too.
But old guys tend to.
That's fair.
And then if Jalen Warren's banged up, does Najee, take back firm control of this like 75% of the offense and just really become a value?
Yeah, he already is. Like I said earlier, I've been doing mocks for fantasy. Oh my God. Najee and Justin Herbert might as well be free. Like I get it that
you love it.
they're not sexy anymore, but I do love it because I like J Herbs and I like Najee. I always like unpopular running backs for whatever reason, and if I can get a guy that's going to get a majority of the workload and who has had 1,000 yards in all 4 of the seasons that he's been in the NFL, to circle back around to your Mark Andrews argument, I like guys that score fantasy points. Najee Harris scores them. He's just not as sexy and he doesn't score the explosive amounts at the top of your roster. But if you think that dude's not a starter, you have not looked and seen what his point totals have been at the end of the year.
And now's a great time to remind you that this is now becoming the nonsense part of the show. So if you're looking for real hard-hitting dynasty analysis, I think Jerry and I did you a solid, not only with the tight end rankings, but how we are handling J.J. McCarthy right now. But we're going to do some nonsense. Like, I never thought a segment about nonsense would get the people going. But Jerry, do you remember the old Chappelle show, Dave Chappelle?
Okay. For one, I grew up when I was in high school when that show was on. So
okay.
You couldn't walk down the hallway of Pinckney High School without hearing "I'm Rick James, bitch."
I saw it on social media somewhere that before we were sending each other reels on Instagram and Snapchats and stuff, we just walked down the halls and screamed Chappelle quotes at each other. So definitely some cultural relevance there with Dave Chappelle. But they had the segment about the player haters ball. Like
Charlie
that,
Murphy.
Oh yeah, Charlie Murphy. The one guy with the Jerry. Tremendous. If you've never seen it, just go to YouTube, search Dave Chappelle, Player Haters Ball. It's about a 6-minute segment. It's pure gold. Well, see, I'm a bit of a hater myself. And you know what? No one's going to love it more. And I'm going to be insufferable. Maybe insufferable is a good word. I'm going to be insufferable when Arthur Smith makes Najee Harris the bell cow in Pittsburgh. Makes that offense go through Pat Fryermuth and does not feed George Pickens, because it's gonna be multiple tiers and multiple beers across the fantasy landscape of all these wannabe. I guess their beer's sour enough as it is because they probably drink IPAs. All those IPA drinking hipsters that want to tell you that you want Jaylen Warren and George Pickens. And Arthur Smith sucks. Yeah, I'm gonna be a hater. I'm gonna be the most diabolical player hater of all time when those guys do well.
I would like to see the dynasty community burn, and that is certainly something that would do it because everybody hates Najee, so that would be awesome. Everybody likes George Pickens, so that would be awesome.
And everybody hates
Arthur Smith, so that would be awesome. I'm for it. Randy. You know what really pisses me off about? I'm just going to say Dynasty Twitter. I don't want to say the community, but the cunts that tweet about Dynasty. I got to watch the Caleb Williams, which Randy, the Caleb Williams throw to Rome Odunze. It was awesome. It was poetry. Blah 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 blah. Struggled a little bit in the rest of the game, but after that play, all I saw was, oh, where the haters at? Where's this? Oh my God, where's everybody talking? So I did a little bit of research. Caleb Williams was a 99 overall rated player from 247 out of high school. He was the number 2 quarterback in his class behind Quinn Ewers, number 8 overall nationally. He goes to college. He wins a Heisman Trophy. He gets drafted number 1 overall in the NFL draft. He is the unanimous 101 in Superflex rookie drafts, and he is a bona fide first-round pick in a Superflex startup. Where are his haters? Like, what are you guys talking about? Like, this man has a diamond after diamond after diamond on his resume, and we're gonna act like people were saying that this man was going to fall off. Like, I'm not going to say like Packer fan didn't say Caleb Williams is going to suck, but like dynasty analysts were not out here saying Caleb Williams is going to turn into a pumpkin. Like, you're not even the highest on him. You don't think he's going to be a pumpkin. Like just what are we doing? Like, stop creating controversy for clicks, you cunts.
Well, unfortunately, controversy creates cash, which is a great book. If you've never read it, go read Eric Bischoff. Controversy creates cash. So I understand controversy creates clicks. Clicks create cash. So it's the way of the modern world. I mean, I don't get too high.
Am I just old? I'm just an old boomer, is what you're saying?
You are. You have become the boomer of this show. Now, technically, neither one of us are boomers. I'm like right on that borderline of Gen X and millennial. I claim Gen X because I'm Gen X, but you millennials. By the way, side note, what's up with social media, millennials, and boner pills? I don't get it. Every ad on Twitter, Instagram is boner pills for millennials. I don't know if it's because they think I'm a millennial and I need a boner pill, or just millennials in general need boner pills. I don't know.
That's your algorithm, buddy. I don't know.
Hey man, it's it be spitting. But back to Caleb Williams is that I'm not getting too high. I'm not getting too low. If I wanted to be a hater, I'd say he was 6 for 13 against the Bengals backups. And some of those guys will be renting cars at Enterprise next week. Like when I was in Dallas, some of the guys that are on the Dallas roster currently would have handed me the keys. That's going to happen in Cincinnati, and that's going to happen against some of the the guys in Cincinnati that Caleb Williams faced. But I'm also not freaking out because Jalen, Washington, not Reed, not Hurts, Jalen, the new quarterback for the Redskins, Commandos.
Jaden Daniels.
Jesus H. Christ on a motorbike.
You're back to being the boomer, buddy.
I need like the Prevagen, the memory pills. But Jaden Daniels 7 for 9. I'm a big Bo Nix fan. Went 8 for 9 when I was watching earlier. I'm not getting too high on too low, guys. Jerry and I were talking about this again in our pre-show. It's historically 2, if not 3 of these guys are going to bust. It just bees that way. There's nothing we can do about it. And you can pick your favorites, and you can make a case why this guy's going to succeed and this guy's going to bust. But somewhere between Penix, Williams, May, Daniels, and I think Nix was McCarthy. McCarthy, 2 to 3 of those 5 are going to bust. Now, we could have said the same odds were going to happen in the fabled Trevor Lawrence class. He's been okay to maybe slightly above option. But Fields bombed, Trey Lance bombed, Mac Jones bombed, Zach Wilson bombed. So maybe that class will offset this class, and maybe you can get 3 to 4 guys who don't bust and only 1 that does. So that's why I'm not getting off my feet as it relates to these guys and their performance. But for someone to say that Caleb Williams is all that, he could be. I've seen flashes, but I'm always going to be caught. It goes back to Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold had it all. One of the guys in the chat, E111 or E111.
Been here all day. Love
you. Been here all day. Been a wonderful contributor to the chat. Thank you so much for being here and contributing. But he said Matt Miyako said Sam Darnold throws the best ball he has ever seen in 49er history. So guys can have talent. Guys can have.
I mean, that's wild. Also, that guy's got too many vowels in his name, so he needs to be on a watch list. But
I would like to buy a vowel. But that's pretty high praise. It doesn't mean he's the best quarterback 100%. that's ever worn a 49ers uniform. It just means the guy has all the tools, just like Jaden Daniels, just like Drake May, just like JJ McCarthy. All of these guys have a lot of tools, but they need the help of the quarterback. They need the help of the offensive system. And Jerry, this is the nonsense portion. So I have one last thing, and then if you got anything, I'll throw it to you. You like music, Jerry?
Yeah.
Okay. Who doesn't? Are you familiar with the old, and I would say old, I mean like super old, Black Sabbath song War Pigs?
Yes. Only because of Guitar Hero, but
okay.
yes.
A lot of people.
I mean, I've listened to it since then, but that's what made me listen.
Where you know it from is, are you familiar with the rapper T-Pain? really
Yeah.
big 6-8 years ago. Huge.
I'm in love with the stripper. She riding, she rolling.
That is correct. He did a cover of War Pigs, and I have to tell you, it's fantastic. Now, War Pigs might be one of the most covered songs of all time. If you go to YouTube or Apple Music and search War Pigs, and you're going to see the Black Sabbath, you're going to see a ton. This is good. I thought I was going to hate it.
I saw it. No. Ozzy Osbourne retweeted the video of him singing that and saying that was the best cover of War Pigs that I've ever seen.
It's classic. I mean, it is so good. He did like an entire like covers thing at a Vegas show that they turned into a YouTube video. Search T-Pain covers. There you go. That's the last thing I got for you, Jerry. You have anything else for these nice people?
Yeah. My cousin got married this weekend, and I drove.
Was he in love with a stripper?
She no, she was not. So it was up in a town called Ontonagon, which is the very tippy top of the upper pin. I guess you can't, I don't know how to do it normal. But anyway, no, UP, yeah. Very tippy top, way up here. Like Lake Superior, freezing cold, frigid. It wasn't freezing cold, but normally tons of trees, whatever. I drive 8 hours to go up there. I drove back today. It was a ton of driving. The point is, I stay at this Airbnb, and it's in the middle of nowhere. That's awesome. Randy, I got fucking bears outside of my Airbnb. I hear some rustling. I hear some moving around, and like it's desolate up there. Like it's just trees. It's just wilderness. I open the window. There are 4 bears outside of my window. Now, Randy, we've had this conversation multiple times on this podcast. I am a little fella. I am not fighting a bear. I am not scaring a bear. I think I shit my pants. Like luckily I was 600 miles away from everybody I know and love, so they didn't know it. You ever open your window and you see 4 bears looking at you? I promise you that is a terror that you are just unprepared for. So moral of the story.
I've seen the Bears play. They couldn't cover me. I'm fine.
Boom.
I'm totally fine. No.
So listen, I always say I couldn't live in the deep south because it's too hot and y'all got too many bugs down there. Right. I can't live up in the UP either. That's too scary.
You have to pick your poison. Like if I got bears and cold, I'm going to deal with bugs and heat. Just give me the bugs and heat. Spray some.
It depends. It depends on the level.
Give me some bug away or off or whatever that spray is.
Like if we're talking like northern Mississippi bugs, okay. But if we're talking like Australia bugs,
oh yeah, well that's a different South. That's southern. That's southern hemisphere.
That's like Yukon Territory wilderness, and I'm like those are the two opposite spectrums.
When you say South, I think y'all, not g'day. You see the difference?
That's fair.
I think that's how we're going out. We're going to go out with a good day to all of you. Good day, mate. You guys have a great day. And thank you for the person that DM'd me and told me that you liked the nonsense. You liked all this, the Olympics and Wolverine and Deadpool. And yes, I'm giving Wolverine top billing by accident, but not really. But anyway, we have reached nonsense. We'll be back next week. Don't know if we'll have a guest or we'll do hot takes or we'll do both, but we'll be back next week with more show. Please check out Fast Draft, even if you don't sign up, but because we don't have a code, we don't make an extra nickel off of it. But you have to support people when they chase their dreams and their passion. And this is something that Matt and Billy have put a lot of work into. And I highly recommend, just check it out. The traffic helps, guys. Believe it or not, Jerry was joking with me earlier about the algorithm. The traffic helps. Going to and following them on Twitter at Fast Draft helps. All of those things help. It's a small business. I know you think of it as Player Profile or a YouTube channel. They're our buddies. They've treated us very well, and you guys treat us very well. Again, to E11, especially E11 and all of the guys in the chat tonight, thank you so much for the support. Jerry, let's get the hell out of here and see you next week.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.